That's a rocket.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown features adult themes, language, and situations. Discretion is advised. 以成人为主题，语言跟情况小心。
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the eye.
Meow. What's that, Sir Lancelot? Meow. You hungry? Meow. Well, have I got a treat for you. Squidby Communications presents the tastiest treat you'll ever feed your furry feline friends. Why, I'm sure you've heard of it. Whisker Biscuits. With the fresh taste of tuna, your furry pal will swear they smell the ocean. It's salty, moist, and satisfying. With fun shapes like mouse, bird, starfish, and Cadillac. Nothing's too good for our four-legged buddy pals, and nothing's quite as good as Whisker Biscuits. Meow. And now, WK Nut proudly presents everyone's favorite one-eyebrowed lawman, the Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
What the hell happened here?
Still trying to anneal a couple of theories about that.
It's a mess.
Taifu Ling, deceased, ID'd by body parts.
He was gripping your watch, which is why we called you in.
Yeah, I greased his palms with it a couple of nights ago. My dead girl supposedly worked for him.
Makes sense.
He's in pieces now. Was fed to the Guai.
Who were then thrown in cages and set on fire, as was the rest of War 74.
The parts that could burn anyway. Worst area is the dockmaster's office.
Nothing left in there but smoke and black timber.
Hearing the facts and seeing the sights killed any buzz the painkillers had brought on. It replaced him with all nerves. Sobering and disturbing. A bloody, barbecued mystery lighting up the night sky. I didn't know for a fact that this was tied to my case, but I had a definite gut feeling it was. 2 bodies now. Hell, more than that if you counted the Iguai and the Rolong. This thing was getting messy, and I couldn't clean it up fast enough. Any leads on anything?
RMA is going over the scene now. Feel free to have a word with her.
One witness to the festivities. Didn't see the actual crime, but she came up on it post factum.
She missed the aperitif, but made it for the digestif.
Says she saw at least 3 males, all around 6 feet.
All with demon faces.
Doesn't that beat all?
Sounds like it lines up with your Yakuza angle, though.
It does. I just thought that was a bum rap.
She's employed here as what she calls a bait girl.
Worked with the Yakuai.
Named Lu Zhi. 28 years old, been working here for 5 years.
She was reporting back from a late-night lunch break when she saw the fire. Found the remains of Daifu, the hungry ghost, and a couple of figures running away with what she called demon faces. She couldn't quite settle on how many, though.
She's still here?
She was understandably upset.
Some uniforms took her back to our precinct to get her statement.
But she'll be there for a few hours, I'd say, if you wanted to converse with her yourself.
I think I might. Mind if I look at the scene?
By all means.
We're going to finish up some paperwork.
And do another canvas.
I made my way to what looked like the epicenter of the mayhem. A mess of body parts. Plasma and thick fluids covering the ground. Boxes turned over. Tracks of the Iguai. Painted in blood and leading to the bonfire. In the middle of all of that, there was a dame. Dressed in men's clothing, but equipped with the curves to let you know she wasn't. She was cramming on the evidence. Taking in every detail. And I was taking in hers. From her face to her foxtail. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. Major Case Detective
Victor Caine. I know who you are. You done checking me out? I guess with one eye, it's hard to hide when it's wandering.
I didn't mean to offend you, ma'am.
Did I say I was offended? Daji Kitsune. Medical examiner, Chinatown. I hear you knew the deceased.
Not on Christmas card lists, but yeah, we met.
Witness pins it on the Yakuza.
And judging by your tone, you don't think that pen holds.
I have some issues with it.
Like?
Have you ever seen the Yakuza?
We've met.
They don't look like demons. They're men. Men in high-end business suits. They leave the face of the demon behind. They don't wear it.
And medically?
That's harder to explain. Daifu was devoured. Then the Iguai were corralled and set on fire. Locked in their cages and left to burn. They wouldn't have been able to defend themselves. It's not within their nature. But no injuries on what's left of Daifu at all, from what I can see. No indication there was a fight, and a ghost that big would pit up one hell of one. It's a hit. It's an extermination. And it was professional.
Which points a big finger at the Yakuza.
But they're not this cruel, or rather, not in this way. It reads as a scheme. It's a mousetrap. It's someone plotting to have someone else do their dirty work for them.
Whereas the Yakuza are more direct.
This doesn't fit their MO.
Then who's your culprit?
Not my department, but I think, for what it's worth, it's something older.
Older than Yakuza?
This is old school China. The Italians call it contrapasso. The Chinese just call it justice. Your end symbolically tied to your crime. Daifu ran these docks, but he ran them for Sifan, an embodiment of the New World view eating away at traditions. So the traditional ate back at Daifu Ling, and the whole thing was cleansed in fire.
You sure you're not a detective?
I'm a scientist. The horrible things we're all capable of, that's just facts. Anyone can observe them.
You have a dark view of the world, don't you?
Only when my eyes are closed. Are you trying to see me with my eyes closed, detective?
I'd like to talk to you about another body of interest first. Our Vic here, if you don't mind.
Well, that conversation will have to be in pieces. Daifu scattered almost everywhere. This is the largest portion intact. Lower right hand, it looks like. Holding your watch, I'm told.
The cheap timepiece with a little bit of polish on it had been broken. The ticking stopped. Hour hand on the 1, minute hand, a notch just before 7, clutched in his massive, disembodied palm. You think that's the time of death?
It's barely 2 now, so no. I think it's just pressure from him squeezing. Probably popped a gear in it.
And the fact he's in multiple pieces, is that...
Hard to tell. Could have been done by the Iguai. Could have been pre-mortem, maybe post-mortem. This piece here, the end is rigid. Torn flesh, cracked bone. Looks like he was ripped apart.
So something strong enough to rip a man apart. An incredibly strong man at that. Cruel enough to make it torture. And passionate enough to fight for old traditions.
Sounds like you know who I'm thinking.
Sounds like I do.
Manchu owns these docks, and so he controls what comes in and goes out from them. What's exported, what's imported. But if the Jiangxi took over, they would be able to say what stays and what leaves.
They'd be strong enough to overpower him and take majority stock in Chinatown.
I'll need more time to go over things. But Daifu would have to have been overpowered, which I think is possible from Yakuza, but more likely from the Poppers, or... something had to have made him just give up. But he seems like the stubborn type to have difficulty letting things go.
Yeah, he's still holding my watch.
Just one more thing. Your encounters with him before, was he one to wear cologne, aftershave?
I can't say that I noticed. Why?
It's a little hard to tell with everything burning. But if you'll lean in a little closer.
Smells like fruit.
Apricots. Right.
I'll take your word for it.
I'll take your number. Keep you in on the loop about what I find. Little professional courtesy.
I appreciate that. The Foxwoman had some interesting ideas. I didn't know if I was definitely buying the Jiangxi pitch, but I bought it a hell of a lot more than the Yakuza angle. I was being tossed back and forth by the seesaw of facts, dizzy and nauseated in this whirling playground of rumors. I wanted to go talk to this witness myself, this bait girl, Lutzi, see what she had to say. In the cop shows on the radio, you always hear about big battles over turf and jurisdiction. Sure, it can be like that sometimes, guys measuring who has the biggest badge while the most scurrilous detective badmouths your mother, your borough, and your local bodega in one breath. But that kind of Abercrombie fat-headed bull is old school. Back from when the boroughs were trying to be separate cities. Back before the police force was unified. Sure, some cops are all about the clams, dirty and on the take. Some cops got sticks up their asses and just want to bust heads. But most of us, the rest of us, we're on the same team. just here to get the damn job done. Fan and she had taken a walk, given me a moment to talk over a few things with the girl at the Chinatown precinct. I'd met her once. Well, seen her is more appropriate. That first night with Daifu and the Iguai. But that was in the distance. Time and torture making it harder to reach and pull into the present. Now, seeing her sitting at this table, her eyes and cheeks still wet with tears, I was getting a better look at this dame. I would say her skin was like porcelain, but I think that would imply too much simile. This close to her, and she almost looked fake. A ceramic doll brought to life by a wish on a shooting star. Her eyes were giving me the far-off absent treatment, which didn't help to convince me she was a real girl. Real or not, I was here to find out what she'd seen, and what she might not know she knew. It's been a long night, hasn't it? Yeah, you and me both, sister. My name's Detective Caine. Detective Victor Caine. I know you're probably tired. I know you've been through a lot more than most ever will. I just need to ask you a few questions, if that's all right.
I already told them everything.
And I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself. They told me you've been very cooperative, very helpful. You're a strong girl, kid. The thing is, I'm tackling this tragedy from a different angle. Different case, but I think it lines up. I knew Daifu.
You did?
Not well, but yeah. Seemed like a real nice guy. Everyone I've met said he was a nice guy. Heard he likes to joke and steal menus from diners.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
He seemed like a real, likable guy. That makes me want to get to the bottom of this even more. You think you can help me with that?
What do you want to know?
What can you tell me?
I've known Daifu for years. He's a good guy. Like one of the nicest guys. He was. He was weird and quirky and just an oddball, you know? But they tore him apart. Someone ripped him apart.
Don't think about that right now. Stay with me, okay? You went to work tonight and...
I worked the first couple of hours and everything was normal. I gave the eaters a bath.
The eaters?
Yeah, that's what we call...
Gotcha.
Daifu was checking inventory. We had like 5 shipments in. I cleaned up a little and then I went to Tian's diner for lunch. I even sneaked a menu out for Daifu. And I was coming back. It's like a 4-block walk, you know? So I was coming back and I thought I saw fire.
Coming from the docks?
Yeah, it was so bright. And there's never fire. There's never any fire. Why would there be fire, I thought. And then I got closer and I could smell it. I got closer and I could see the blood.
She was seeing it in her mind all over again, replaying the worst parts of it like it was happening right in front of her. I'd seen that look in her eyes before. On soldiers, on victims, on wives of men beaten to death in front of them. Her scar was deep and itching. The kind of wound that you think is healed, and then something reminds you of the injury and it opens right up again. She smiled for Daifu, for her life before the scarring, the her she used to be. Then came the crying, the tears welling up, the trying to deal with what had happened, the horror that hit her in certain lights. Being heartbroken and wounded, it really is being torn between who you were and where you are now.
There was just so much blood. I don't think I've ever seen that much, and I didn't know what was happening. I could just smell that smell, you know, the burning. I didn't know what it was or where the blood was coming from. I just thought, there's so much. And then I saw his arm, and it made sense. And I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And then I saw them. The ones that did this. These things. There were, I don't know how many of them. They looked at me. These white faces. Faces like demons. One held a finger to his lips to make me be quiet, and one of them spoke to me.
He spoke to you? What did he say?
I don't know. It was Chinese.
Chinese?
Yeah, something in Chinese.
You don't speak Chinese?
I'm ABC, American-born Chinese. An anchor baby, really. But my mom won't admit it. I never learned Chinese, not really. Daifu would teach me a few words every now and then, but...
You're sure he spoke to you in Chinese? Not some other language?
I know what it sounds like.
And then the faucet turned on, and the tears overflowed, pouring down her porcelain face. She had been something otherworldly, some out-of-place oddity. But now, she was just a girl. Age-wise, she was a woman, sure, but she was in this room, telling me about, God willing, the worst day of her life, and she was just a hurt little girl. It reminds you that even in a world of otherworldly things, everybody's just a somebody holding back tears. You did good, kid. Very helpful. Thank you for that. You know, they got a little sweet shop across the street. Make a mean vanilla all the way. How about I get one of the boys to run get you one? That'd be okay?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I walked out of the interrogation room and ordered the crying babe a sundae. She needed it. She'd earned it. I felt that I had been sticking my neck out on the chopping block, the way I'd been going on about the Yakuza being innocent. I was worried my hunch was just indigestion and I was being blind to what was going down. The minute she said Chinese, the conviction she had.
How may I connect you, sir?
Transylvania 1925.
Right away.
Conviction like that can change your mind, make you question things. Speaking of questions, I had a few for a select group of people that I'd sent Druitt to find. So I borrowed a phone and called him at the precinct, hoping he had something for me.
Andretti's Pizza.
You slay me.
Detective Caine. I was just messing around. Wolf was supposed to call me. You see, I thought you was him, so...
Slow your stompers. You're good, kid. I'm calling to check on that little job I gave you.
Yes, sir. No headway on finding that, Meng Po dame, but I got a meeting with you and the two reporters that covered Chinatown tomorrow night, 6 p.m. here at the station.
Swell, but call them back and move the meeting to somewhere else, somewhere less formal, where they'll feel comfortable. Fusang Tea House, across from the Confucius statue, should work. They won't feel like their heads and hands are in the stocks, you know?
Pillory.
What?
Pillory.
Druitt.
Pillory, it's the thing that they put your head and the hands through. Stocks is for your feet. It's a common misconception. I'm not a big history buff and whatnot. I just... Hello? Hello, detective? You hang up on me?
I shook off the maudlin I got from the porcelain girl and made my way to Sifan. Someone had sent a note to my office before I got derailed at the docks, and just because it was a note that could sing and dance didn't mean I wasn't taking it seriously. It said that I could find my answers at Sifan. I asked around a bit and found out that Manchu was on the 37th floor in a conference room, busy taking a meeting. So I hopped on the elevator and took it to the top. I stepped into the hallway and I could see the big doors the doctor was hiding behind, and made my way to bust him down. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of his assistant, the Egyptian woman with the upstage suit. She was busy fetching another cup of mud for the men in the tower, but I wasn't here for her. I was here to talk to the butter and egg man. The minute she caught a whiff of me barging into the conference room, though, her disposition changed as quickly as her feet started moving. But it was too damn late. I blew open the doors to see a room full of well-dressed men attending a lecture.
我们知道剧院艺术是文化艺术的通道，为了孩子可以。
等一下，看来我们有一个客人。Detective.
Doctor?
Sir,
It's all right, Karamena. I'm sure the detective is merely doing his job. 这个侦探在调查我们的公司的官员。
东方的明珠的女孩。
对，一样的。
Sorry if I interrupted your little clam bake.
Huh. Detective, I'd wager to say that you knew very well I was in a meeting. That finding me in this encapsulated setting is exactly what you wanted.
Old police trick. Stop by while you're in public and say hidey-ho, ruffle your feathers a little.
I assure you, Detective Caine, I'm a very difficult man to ruffle, was it? In fact, the board is listening to the Honorable Mr. Cao Guizhou's presentation at the Sifandao Opera House. It's charitable work, the schedule for next season, and the fundraiser at the Chinese New Year's parade in a few days. You are more than welcome to join, but I doubt it is the type of information you're looking for.
No, not exactly my trolley.
If Sir would like, I could escort him back outside.
That won't be necessary, Caramena. Detective, I want you to know that I wish to cooperate in any and every way possible with the MNYPD.
Good. I want you to cooperate too. How about we start with a couple of questions?
I think that's a fine idea. I would request, though, that perhaps these questions could be scheduled for later. Dinner with my family tonight, your schedule permitting.
That's a kind offer, but I'll have to...
I insist. I'll have Caramena call our chef, Emil, and have him prepare an extra plate. That will allow me to get my business in order, while you prepare your questions likewise, if I didn't ruffle your feathers too absurdly, that is. We'll say 5:30?
5:30.
Excellent. I look forward to the conversation. Hen Baojian, Women Gung Zainali.
My run-in with Manchu hadn't turned out the way I anticipated, but I had made my presence known. All of his upper-class buddies knew he was in my sight now. Hell, maybe some time to work out my angle would do me good. Maybe tackling him on his home turf would give me the advantage, or at least throw him off his game. He might feel too comfortable, and I might find a place where he slips up. I didn't think he was good for this. To be honest, I didn't know who was, but he knew more than he was telling me. I was damn sure of that.
The elevator is to your left, Detective Caine.
Thanks. Sorry about busting in there. The doctor didn't seem to mind, though.
He is a much more forgiving person than I.
Like a flash flood, she hit me. A punch to my already cracked ribs, a foot across my face, and then I was pinned up against a wall, her forearm against my throat, drowning me in the force of her.
I warn you, Detective, and let my warning be heard clearly. If ever again you attempt to undermine my position as the protector of the doctor, you will be forced to withstand the consequences. With all sincerity, I can assure you that is not what you want.
Yeah, I can sense that.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, Detective. Dinner will be served at 5:30.
Yeah, thanks. One thing I could say about the assistant is she was direct and to the point. Her candor aside, she packed a mighty wallop, and I had some time to kill. There was a bar a couple of blocks down the street. The 5 Deadly Venoms is what they called it. I figured I'd walk over there and tie one off until it was time to come back around. Let liquor ease the injury of my face and pride from that Bearcats 1-2. She could beat me up all she wanted to, though. I wasn't hitting the silks. I was in this for the long run. Meng Po, the Jiangxi, the Yakuza and Triads, Sifan and the docks, and a dead farm girl with very little proof she was ever really alive. I had to figure out my own narrative before I went to Manchu's fancy dinner party and just started bumping gums.
白鬼子他妈的
And speaking of bumping, it was like a game of pigskin as 4 pedestrians in hooded pullovers each took a turn running into me on the sidewalk. Not hard, but not exactly the soft touch of a lover either. Yeah, you're excused, buddy. They were past me now, but they heard what I said. 3 of them didn't even respond, but the one that did. He turned back and looked over his shoulder, the hood covering the vast majority of his face. No, not his face, his mask. In New York, you see anything and everything, so the fact he was wearing a mask meant nothing, but it was what the mask looked like. It looked like a demon. Hey! Hey! I broke into a sprint after them and they picked up the pace, running down the street to Chinatown after 4 hooded masked figures, and they were laughing. Quick and malicious laughter that kind of turns your stomach while simultaneously pissing you off. They were toying with me. Police! Stop with your hands up! And they rounded a corner onto an avenue, me in hot pursuit when... Where the hell'd they go? I reached in my pocket to get a swig of that painkiller Em had given me. I found it all right, but I also found something else. A note. Scribbled in what looked like the same handwriting on the paper man I had gotten earlier in my office. It said, Your life is in danger.
Where will the clues lead our monstrous constable? Tune in next time to find out.
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the eye.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown is brought to you by Bean Dip Productions and the Neighborhood Studio. The Eye is recorded at the Neighborhood Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a rocket.